Hello, everyone. It's a gorgeous morning, and I just have a lot to do. I have been unable to really tend the garden as much as I would like, and so it has become an unruly, bountiful, beautiful mess. I love it. A lot of plants need to be pruned back. I need to do a lot of tying. I need to do some harvesting. I need to do some sowing. And I know I won't get it all done today, so I'm just going to try to do as much as I can. So I just want to just kind of bring you up to date as to what's going on. And those tomatillos really need to be tied up. So yes, I'm going to take you along today. I hope you enjoy. I've missed you all. So yeah, a long list of things to do. I'm not going to jibber jabber, and I'm just going to go ahead and try to get as much done, pruned, tied up, cleaned up as much as possible. I'm gonna see if I can find something that will last a little bit longer, like maybe metal, brass, or something for this. So let's see if I did it. Okay, that's done. Gosh, this garden is a mess. It is a beautiful, beautiful mess. You know what? I am so sorry, Spoon Tomato, but I'm gonna have to do And you know, being in this garden right now, even though there's a lot to get done, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I am very hopeful and just excited. Even with all these going to seed, it just reminds me more and more that we're becoming more self-sustaining, because I'll never have to buy Malabar seeds again, because I have a lot that has gone to seed. I have some from last season as well. So I will never have to buy Malabar seeds. I will never have to buy chive seeds again. It's beautiful just dangling there, but I don't want it to grow and trail along the ground. Okay. 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 Yeah, I'm gonna have to take you out. Take you out and replant you a little better. All right. Fortunately, I still think have enough time to replant for harvest. And hopefully I'll beat out the squash vine borers. All right, let's see here. I think I'm gonna need my big loppers. It's just too big. So, just to kind of bring you up to date here, in my absence, a lot has been going on. Work, business has really elevated, getting really busy consistently because God is answering our prayer. And that's one thing I'm very, very thankful for, is that I grew up in a family of prayers. My grandmother, my mother, look at all those squash bugs. Okie dokie. And so I have seen God answer a lot of prayers in my lifetime, from the time I can remember. That's not to say that things have not been sometimes hard and difficult, because, as he says, there will be trials and tribulations. Nothing's going to always be perfect. But even with all that, I can't really say I have complaints, because every trial that I or my family have gone through has only made us stronger in our faith. Oh my goodness, what a community of squash bugs. I'm gonna have to spray this whole area with soapy water. Okay. Oh, these little babies. You're going to die. And so I say all this because Pete and I, as well as some friends of ours, have just been really praying about what is going on in this world and what God is doing. And I was just talking to a girlfriend of mine. We were just talking about how we just feel like God is doing something. Not that he's never not doing anything, but we just feel this, I don't want to really say unsettling, because that just sounds kind of negative. Maybe more like a stirring. And there's no doubt that this world is going through some labor pains, some pangs. And I don't know if you're all believers, but those who are, we can't deny that we are seeing the signs. And so I was talking to this friend of mine, and we just feel like we have to get ready for something. We don't know what it is, but there's a stirring in us that we just have to be prepared for something. So, knowing that my Heavenly Father answers my prayers, and I know therefore he listens to me, I have just been seeking him more and more every day. And not for just things, but for direction and for prompting. And we just keep seeing road signs of perhaps where he's guiding us, but I don't want to move too fast, and I also don't want to fold my hands either. But I am praying for a move into the next season if it is time. So I have just been asking a lot of God, that my eyes not be closed, that my ears aren't tickled, and they remain open to hear his voice alone, and that I am able to be deaf to the things of the world and things of the enemy. And more than not, recently, that has been my prayer. Because whatever God is doing, I know is good, first and foremost. But I know that it takes a discernment. And I'm also praying for that as well, because I don't want to miss what he has, because what he has is good. Just as he says, I know the plans that I have for you to prosper you and not harm you. So I just have to trust and believe in that. But I also know that as omnipotent and sovereign as God is, we are also called to be obedient and to move when he says to move, and to be still when he says to be still, which basically means that we have a part to play as well. Not that he needs us, but he desires it and requires it. Okay, this is so bizarre. I have planted my favorite cream paste tomatoes, which are like the white version of a Roma tomato. And I have two here side by side. They're normally a bush variety. The one over here is going by what it's supposed to be, bush. There's one I planted right next to it that looks like it's an indeterminate from the same seed packet, but one is growing determinate and one is growing indeterminate. And the one that is growing indeterminate obviously is very unruly and very diseased. So I think what I'm going to do is cut off the diseased and damaged parts, because there's a lot of fruit on here that's rotten and split and not looking good. So I'm going to try to prune this back as much as possible and leave whatever I can to grow on for the rest of the season. And I have got to harvest. Okay, and this is coming from over there. Boy, this has really gotten out of control. We are supposed to be active, hence being obedient to his direction, his prompting, his instruction. Dill, okay. That's the dill plant. Okay, forgive me. I'm trying to make sense of this plant that should be a determinant but is an indeterminate, and seeing where I need to cut and restake and unentwine. Okay. So this looks like a pretty bad branch. Okay, so that's where it continues. It goes down to here, which I've already cut. Okay. We just have to cut the rest of it off. Okay. That makes it a little more clear. A lot of new fruit coming on, but that's okay. It will produce more in the name of Jesus. So, as I was saying, I don't want to miss the plans that he has for me. And again, I know I have to do my part. Not just in listening, but being obedient to move when he tells me to move, and be still when he tells me to sit still and let him be God. Because I tend to want to kind of sometimes, well, let me rephrase that. It used to be that I would try to control everything and have everything move in my own power. And I found that tend to just get me into trouble and leave me disappointed. I have to say it took me almost 40 years to get that into my thick skull. So I say that to say that there's a lot of plans that Pete and I want and desire for not just ourselves, but for our friends and our family. especially in these times when the world is just seems a little chaotic, unstable. And though it may feel like everything is falling apart, I know that it's just falling into place. And that's why I keep reminding myself not to look at things the way the world sees it, but to see it. And that's in the prayer that I have, is to continue to see things through his eyes. And the more I get into his word, the more I spend time with him, the more I see through his eyes. And that's not to say that I see everything through rose-colored glasses or that I'm delusional about the things of this world and what's going on. Forgive me if this sounds like I'm just all over the place. This is what I tend to do. I'm in the garden. I talk to God a lot. I feel a very strong presence whenever I'm in the garden, which is why I love being here. And I tend to just kind of just talk to him, collect my thoughts, and seek him whenever I'm in the garden. And so as I was doing this with you today, kind of just cleaning out the garden, I don't want to just give you a montage of me going through the garden. Because in here, there's a lot going on. And sometimes people just want to know the gardening isn't just gardening for the sake of growing food, dealing with pests and disease. But every act in the garden, there's more going on than just what I show you on camera. A lot of times I don't tell you what's going on in my head and what my thinking process is, what I'm praying about. So I thought this time, ooh, squash bug. So I thought this time I would just kind of give you a look inside my head and my thought processes, whether they be pretty or scary. Shoot. You're going to die, little squash bug. Oh my gosh, it's another one. And I know I do a lot of squirting with this soapy water. And I know once I get them pretty saturated with the first few squirts, they die. But I like to make sure. I believe wholeheartedly that as I am growing this garden, I think this garden is also growing me. And that's one thing I always tell my friends who always think, I want to start a garden, I just don't have time. I don't have, the space. And I always want to say to them, and not in a disrespecting way at all, is, do you have the time and the space to grow yourself? And I'm not trying to sound all preachy or anything like that, but in the process of learning and growing this garden and all its wild beauty, I have to say I've grown a lot too as well. I've grown a lot in terms of seeing God's creation in action firsthand. Because after all, it all started off in the garden, right? So I have learned a lot about myself. There's something about the garden, believer or non-believer, that transforms and grows you as your surroundings transform and grow as well. And I've come to realize that I started seeing that a little bit last season when I just kind of threw my hands up and said, let the garden do what the garden's going to do. And I think I've mentioned this before, that last season Pete and I had the most abundant, prolific tomato garden and harvest that we've ever had since I started gardening. And I used to tell myself, even in the first year of gardening, which was in the container pots when I was trying to grow tomatoes and peppers and herbs, even during that time, I was telling myself I didn't have a green thumb, that it wasn't going to survive, that wasn't going to thrive. I didn't know what I was doing. Because growing up in my life, I always saw my mom grow things. We had house plants that would always just thrive in the least ideal conditions. And I always thought, gosh, my mom has a green thumb. She could grow anything. And growing up back home in West Africa, in case you guys don't know, I'm West African from Ghana. And when I share my garden with my mom, she's proud, but at the same time, she's kind of like, because when she thinks about what I go through as far as fertilizing and amending and pruning and all that, she tells me, well, back home, she would just throw seeds in the ground and they would just grow. And I admire her for that. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that I don't have that luxury, because it really has forced me to learn what this needs to grow the way that it does. I love my garden. So I just had to step in the shade a little bit because I am sweating and that sun is already beaming. And since we got that tree cut off, this really gets a lot of morning sun and it is brutal right now. But as I was saying, in the first season, I started growing in containers, the tomatoes, peppers, and herbs. Oh, that breeze feels good. I was even cursing myself then, saying, I don't have a green thumb, I have a brown thumb, you know? And I've learned over the season, I don't have a brown thumb. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what was required of me. After all, like anything else, when I was born, I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to walk. I didn't know how to take care of myself. But over the years, I learned how to do that. And just like that, over the years, I've learned how to take care of this garden. I'm gonna have to redirect you over here. I've learned how to nurture plants, to know their watering, sunlight, and fertilization schedules, what they need to thrive. And I've been able to grow a good amount of food for Pete and I. So I say all that to say that as I grow this garden, it's growing me as well and helping me to become more resilient. And most importantly, it's forcing me to see more of God in just the daily things in our daily life as we walk through this world. Not that I never saw God in things, but I just have to say, I think I just see him differently. It's definitely strengthened my faith because I had to have faith that this garden would produce food for my husband and I, that we weren't just wasting our money and our time and my sweat and tears, and sometimes even blood. I'm wondering, it would be nice to be able to trellis some of this along the structure. And this honey nut squash is trying to grow, but I don't think it's getting enough sun. Yeah, that's one thing. I gotta kind of plan my chaotic gardening a little bit better so that everything gets the amount of sun that it needs to thrive. And the way that it has grown my faith is that I did a lot of praying and still do a lot of praying over this garden, praying for bounty, praying for eyes to see what's going on, to learn what I need to learn, to create a garden that thrives, and not just thrives for Pete and I, but to someday be able to have the ability to provide for my extended family, our neighbors, our community, and God willing, who knows, maybe even a farmer's market in our area. In other ways this garden has grown me is it has taught me patience. Because I now know, not that I didn't know before, but I know more so that if I want to have watermelon this season, I don't start it today. I started 2 months ago. It's also taught me to see God in everything. I see him in every leaf, in every beneficial, in every pest, because it's all working together as He ordained it. And you see His sovereignty in everything. And I know seems like maybe it's just kind of all over the place, but I warned you, this is the thoughts that go through my head as I'm gardening. So you're seeing it all, behind the scenes, the good, the bad, the ugly. Oh, interesting. That broke, but it's healing itself. I'll let you go. Do what you do. Okay. I'm thinking I should maybe cut some leaves back before I tie these up. Nope. Here we go. But to kind of backtrack, when I was saying earlier about how my friend and I think there's just God is moving, there's a stirring, there's something going on, a new season coming in. And it kind of reminds me right now because we're about to start getting into the new season of fall. And though I'm still producing everything in the summer garden, I need to start thinking ahead about the fall garden because, first of all, I have enough time in the season to plant more beans and more squash. But I need to start thinking about starting seeds for brassicas and the cool weather plants so that I'm prepared for that. And so as I prepare and start thinking about the fall season and what I need to plant to be ready for that, I also need to plant and be ready for whatever He has for me in the next season. Whether that be more chickens, ducks, maybe even rabbits, or even expansion that I can't even begin to understand or even fathom right now. Where can I, I'm going to start utilizing this structure and make this grow up this way. Just to get it off the ground. Can you see that? I mean, look at that. We've already eaten 2 of these melons already, and there's so much more coming. So much more I can't even begin to count. So this time of year, as I'm starting to prepare and starting to think of the fall garden, I can't help but to start also thinking about my life and what the next season will entail when the fall of my life is going to be, and what I need to do to prepare for that is to start sowing the seeds for tomorrow's season. Seeds. More seeds. All right, I just have got to take a break. I think I'm going to call it good for now. Because it's just getting a little too hot out here. And I am talking more than I am actually doing anything. So I'm going to take a break and cool off. But just to kind of summarize as to how the garden is growing me as I am growing it. It has taught me patience. It has taught me not to speak cursing, but to speak blessing over my life, my world, my talents, my giftings. It has shown me to pay attention to the little details all around, because there are so many signs and wonders of His sovereignty if we just take the time to look. Now, you don't have to believe in God to see the beauty in all the details of the world. They're undeniable. How everything is just created to coexist in this ecosystem, that the beneficials pollinate and allow fruit to set and to mature on plants. how the beneficials destroy the pests, and even how the pests provide food for the beneficials. I mean, it's just, everything is just, it's beautiful. But yes, that's how I see God more in the details. I've learned patience, as I said. I've learned patience in allowing things to mature and come to fruition in its time. And I'm a believer that everything is beautiful in God's time. So I've learned to be patient in that, in the waiting. I've learned to listen to the little details, because I could be across the garden and I would hear a hummingbird on the other side of the garden. I can hear his little wings just fluttering. I can hear the flapping of the grasshopper's wings as they go from one end of the garden to the other. So I've learned to really pay attention and listen for that still, quiet voice. And I say all of this because, as I said earlier in the video, I've had some discussion with a friend of mine about how we're just moving into a new season, that God has something for us. And when I say us, I don't mean just Pete and I and her family. I say for the world. This is, to say the very least, a very trying time in the world. There's a lot of things going on. And sometimes I feel a little bit of trepidation. I feel a little anxious. But then I rein it in and think, again, things are not falling apart. Things are not unraveling. Things are coming together and weaving together as they're supposed to. And just like a woman in labor pains, it's hard, it's difficult. Not that I know personally, but I've been in a lot of delivery rooms to know that there's a lot of pain in the process, but in the end, something beautiful is waiting for us. So I try to live with that hope. It's easier for me when I'm in the garden, because I see the disease, I see the pest, but I still have that hope that in all the disease, all the pest, that at the end, there's fruit, there's bounty waiting. And I try to see that in what's going on in the world. And I don't know what's next. We don't know what the next season will bring. But we do know that we want to be prepared for it. And I'm not saying this as a fear-mongering. I'm not trying to be preachy. Again, this is what goes through my head and my thoughts while I'm going through the garden. And I just wanted to share it with you. But I don't know what this next season is going to bring, unfold, reveal to us. And this time when I say us, me and Pete and my friend and her family. But as for us, we don't want to be caught with our lamps half empty. We don't want to be caught unaware. And I know this is very different than the other videos that I've posted. And this is also kind of another reason why I have been on here for a while. Because even though I have come into the garden and tended to the garden as time allows, I'm just not here just tending the garden. I come out here as my solace, my place of reflection. And I didn't really know how to record that. It was not my intention to record it today as well, but this is the season that I'm in. And if I want to do YouTube authentically, this is me being authentic. This is me being who I am in the garden. It's not just, oh, walk into the garden, see what I harvested today. Look what's growing, look what's diseased. Because it is that, but it's so much more than that. And I want to be real. And that's one thing I always pride myself in. And I always tell people, with me, what you see is what you get. I try to be as transparent as possible. And if I'm not doing that here, then I'm not being authentic to myself. So I say all that. Sorry if this is a little bit too deep for you. But I'm walking into a new season and I can't deny it. I can't skirt around it. So you may get more videos like this from me in the future. You may not. We'll see. But as I go along this journey in my garden, growing, learning more every single day, and enjoying the bounty of this beautiful garden I've been blessed with. And as I steward it, I want to share it with you, and I hope you enjoy it as well. But I'm going to go in, enjoy the air conditioning, see what emails I have, and I will see you later. Have a blessed day. Bye.